You don't choose who you're attracted to, at least, not in the way you think, because long before your mind decides, something deeper has already said yes. What if attraction is not a choice? You tell yourself, I like them, they feel familiar, there's chemistry, but those are conclusions, not causes. The cause lives underneath awareness, what your shadow actually is. Your shadow is not dark. It's not bad. It's not dangerous. It's the part of you that learned before words. Patterns, emotional rules, survival strategies. Everything your conscious mind forgot, your shadow remembers. Why attraction feels instant. That instant pull isn't magic. It's recognition. Your nervous system scanning. Does this feel familiar? Not safe. Not healthy. Familiar. The role of early emotional imprinting. Your first emotional bonds taught you how love feels, how closeness behaves, what effort looks like by, how distance is handled. Those lessons didn't disappear. They became automatic. Why you're drawn to certain types. You don't chase people. You repeat emotional environments. If love once felt inconsistent, your shadow searches for inconsistency. If love once required effort, your shadow equates effort with meaning. This is why logic doesn't work. You can list red flags. You can know better. You can promise yourself never again. But attraction doesn't respond to logic. It responds to memory. The shadow's job is survival. Your shadow doesn't ask, will this make me happy? It asks, can I survive this emotionally? And survival often chooses the known, even when the known hurts. Why you feel pulled toward people who withhold. Distance activates memory. Silence triggers familiarity. Uncertainty recreates emotional climates you learned to navigate long ago. Your shadow says, I know how to function here. This is not self-sabotage. You're not broken. You adapted. What once protected you is now choosing for you. The science behind the pull. Your brain releases dopamine, not from connection but from unpredictability. Hope spikes, relief crashes, attachment deepens. This is chemistry, not destiny. Why healthy people feel boring at first? Because calm doesn't activate survival memory. Peace feels unfamiliar to a system trained on intensity. So the shadow whispers, there's no spark. But what it really means is, there's no chaos. Important realization. Pause here. Attraction is not always pointing you forward. Sometimes it's pointing you backward to unfinished emotional business. Why certain people feel impossible to ignore. You're not obsessed with them. You're responding to a signal inside yourself. Attraction doesn't always come from liking. Sometimes it comes from activation. The shadow doesn't use words. It uses sensations. A tight chest, butterflies, urgency, emotional pull, a sense of needing. Your body reacts before your mind understands. Why you feel drawn even when it makes no sense. Logic asks, why do I still care? The shadow answers, this feels familiar. Familiarity creates safety at the nervous system level, even when the situation isn't safe at all. The role of emotional incompletion. Unfinished emotional experiences don't disappear. They seek resolution. So when someone mirrors a past dynamic, the shadow becomes alert. This is unfinished business. Why you want what you can't have. Unavailable people recreate early emotional conditions. Distance, inconsistency, waiting. Your shadow learned how to survive there, so it activates when it senses the same terrain. This is why attraction can feel urgent. Urgency is not desire. It's memory trying to complete itself. The shadow believes, if I fix this dynamic, I heal the original wound. But repetition doesn't heal. Awareness does. Why closure feels necessary. You don't need them. You need resolution. The shadow wants a different ending to an old story. The chemistry myth. Strong chemistry often means emotional unpredictability, intermittent validation, emotional highs and lows. Your brain confuses stimulation with connection. Why your shadow rejects easy love. Easy love doesn't activate old memory. It doesn't feel intense. So the shadow says, this isn't it. But what it really means is, this doesn't match my past. The moment awareness enters, when you notice the pull without acting on it, something shifts. The shadow begins to lose control. Because shadows thrive in unconsciousness. Important pause. You are not wrong for feeling attraction, but you are responsible for what you do with it. Why fighting attraction never works. Most people try to resist attraction. They shame it. They judge it. They force logic over feeling. That only makes the pull stronger. Because suppression feeds the shadow. The correct way to disarm the shadow. You don't argue with it. You observe it. The moment you say, I'm noticing this attraction, instead of, I shouldn't feel this, control shifts back to you. Attraction weakens when it is seen. Shadows lose power in light. When you name the pattern, this feels familiar. This reminds me of past dynamics. This is emotional memory activating. The intensity drops. Why urges fade when you don't act? Urges are chemical waves. They rise, they peak, they fall. You were taught to act before the fall. But when you wait, your nervous system learns, I can feel this without obeying it. That's reconditioning. The role of the body in healing attraction. Attraction is stored in the body, not the mind. So healing must include the body. Slowing breathing, grounding attention, letting sensation move through you. This tells the nervous system, I am safe without chasing. Why distance creates clarity. When you stop feeding the pattern with attention, fantasy, or contact, the emotional charge weakens. Not because you forced it, because you stopped reinforcing it. The most important skill you learn here, discomfort tolerance. The ability to sit with longing, uncertainty, emotional pull. Without acting, this is maturity. Why this feels uncomfortable at first. Your system is used to intensity. Calm feels empty before it feels peaceful. That doesn't mean something is missing. It means something old is leaving. What happens when the shadow loses control? You start noticing. Clearer thinking, less obsession, more emotional choice, reduced urgency. Attraction becomes a signal, not a command. Important pause. Let this sink in. You don't lose attraction by understanding it. You lose it by outgrowing its purpose. The goal was never to kill desire. Most people think healing means feeling nothing. That's wrong. The goal was always feeling without losing yourself. When the shadow integrates, desire becomes calm, clear, selective. What integration actually means. Integration means you stop running from your shadow. You stop letting it run you. You become aware and embodied. This is psychological adulthood. Why healthy attraction feels different. Healthy attraction doesn't scream. It doesn't create anxiety. It doesn't create obsession. It doesn't pull you out of your body. It feels grounded, mutual, safe, steady, and at first, it may feel unfamiliar. Why many people mistake calm for boredom? Because their nervous system is addicted to chaos. Intensity was mistaken for chemistry. Anxiety was mistaken for love. Once healed, peace becomes attractive. The moment your preferences change, you notice something subtle. You're no longer pulled to emotionally unavailable people. Inconsistency, mixed signals. Your body no longer lights up for instability. That is not loss. That is growth. What you start attracting instead. People who communicate clearly, show up consistently, feel emotionally present. Not because you chase differently, but because you are different. The shadow doesn't disappear, it evolves. Your shadow becomes intuition. Old wounds become discernment. Triggers become signals, not traps. This is the real science of attraction. You don't attract what you want. You attract what your nervous system feels familiar with. Change the system and attraction follows. A moment of silence, important. Ask yourself quietly, does this connection bring me peace or take me away from myself? Your body already knows the answer. Why letting go creates magnetism. When you stop needing, you stop leaking energy, you stop overgiving, you stop proving your worth. And paradoxically, that's when attraction deepens. Final truth. The shadow was never your enemy. It was a teacher pointing you toward what needed healing. Once the lesson is learned, you've seen the pattern, now apply it. Awareness alone is not enough. You can know why you were drawn to certain people, but the next step is to choose differently. The first rule, observe before engaging. Next time you feel a pull, pause. Name the sensation. Ask, is this familiar or healthy? Your shadow responds to attention, not avoidance. The second rule, rewrite your narrative. Your past does not dictate your present. Write new rules for yourself. You value calm over chaos. You honor consistency over intensity. You choose presence over drama. Every decision strengthens your new attraction blueprint. The third rule, let your body guide you. Your body is smarter than your mind. Notice, does your chest feel tight or open? Does your mind race or relax? Does this connection energize or drain you? Trust the signals. Your shadow communicates through them. Why? Action reinforces learning. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen a new neural pathway. Desire can exist without obsession. This is liberation. This is power. How others will respond differently now. People notice calm confidence. Those who thrive on control drift away. Those who are ready for healthy connection step forward. Without effort, without drama. The final reflection. Your shadow taught you attraction, intensity, and patterns. Now you teach your shadow. I am safe. I am whole. I choose clarity. And life responds. You started unaware, pulled toward patterns, repeating old stories. Your shadow ran the show without you knowing. Now, you see the pattern. You recognize the pull. You act with awareness. That's transformation. The ultimate lesson of the shadow. The shadow was never the enemy. It was a guide, showing you what you unconsciously seek, what you unknowingly tolerate turns, what your nervous system needs to feel safe. Once integrated, your shadow becomes your inner compass. How attraction changes when you change. Before, chaos, obsession, and longing. Now, calm, clarity, and choice. Healthy attraction is no longer about intensity. It's about resonance. People no longer trigger you unconsciously. They complement your energy consciously. The 4 pillars of new attraction. Observation, notice impulses without reacting. Boundaries, honor your emotional and physical space. Embodiment, feel sensations. Do not ignore them. Integration, use shadow signals to guide, not control. Follow these consistently, and the right people naturally gravitate toward you. The final shift in energy. You no longer chase, fix, or overinvest. Instead, presence replaces effort. Calm replaces urgency. Confidence replaces anxiety. This is the magnetism of self-mastery. Why this works long-term. The nervous system remembers patterns. Recondition it. Pause instead of reacting minus. Reflect instead of longing place. Act with clarity instead of desperation. And the cycle of unconscious attraction finally ends. Your shadow is now your ally. Old wounds become discernment. Old triggers become signals. Old patterns become lessons. And every new connection you form is now conscious, intentional, and emotionally healthy.